everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Write Good Poetry with me, Sophie Sparham. So today we're going to be taking a look at the writer Ocean Vuong. Here is the book, Night Sky with Exit Wounds. I first discovered this book a little while ago and I just thought it was really, really good and wanted to, focus a little bit more on a poem from it. So I'm going to read Ocean's bio before we get into things. Ocean Vuong was born outside Saigon in 1988. At the age of 2, after a year in a refugee camp, he and his family arrived in the US. He is the first in his immediate family to learn how to read proficiently. A Ruth Lilly Fellow and winner of a Pushcart Prize, he has received honours and awards from Poets House and the Academy of American Poets. Night Sky with Exit Wounds won the Whiting Award, the Thomas Gunn Award and the 2017 Forward Prize for Best First Collection. Ocean lives in Massachusetts. So Ocean, for me, his work is so rich with these vivid images, and it's really, really intimate and just absolutely beautiful. And when I read Night Sky with Exit Wounds, I was just blown away by what he does with images and language and how he explores things. And I wanted to take a look at this a little bit deeper. So the poem that I've decided to look at today is called Trojan. Trojan. A finger's worth of dark from daybreak, he steps into a red dress. A flame caught in a mirror the width of a coffin. Steel glinting in the back of his throat. A flash. A white asterisk. Look how he dances. The bruised blue wallpaper peeling into hooks as he twirls his horse head. Shadow thrown on the family portraits. Glass cracking beneath its stain. He moves like any other fracture, revealing the briefest doors. The dress petling off of him like the skin of an apple, as if their swords aren't sharpening inside of him. The horse with its human face, the belly full of blades and brutes, as if dancing could stop the art of his murderer from beating between his ribs. How easy a boy in a dress, the red of shut eyes, vanishes beneath the sound of his own galloping. How a horse will run until it breaks into weather, into wind. How like the winds they will see him. They will see him clearest when the city burns. Wow, so that was Trojan by Ocean Vuong, and let's pick this apart a little bit more. So at its most simplest form, this poem is about a boy stood in front of a mirror wearing a dress. However, there's lots of themes that run through this poem that I'd like to discuss a little bit more. One being the Trojan horse, which kind of comes all the way through the poem. And the other is, the idea of fire and the colour red, basically. So for those that don't know what the Trojan horse is, it's kind of the story of how the Greeks used it to enter the city of Troy and win the war. So what they did is they built this big horse, said it was a present, then loads of them hid inside it, loads of warriors hid inside it. The Trojans wheeled it into their city, and when they got it inside, obviously they all sprang out and slaughtered them. And we can see this metaphor working its way through the poem. So, you've got the idea of, steel glinting in the back of his throat. So the fact that it's almost like these warriors are waiting, to jump out and come out of him. Later on in the poem, you've got this belly full of blades and brutes, and then further down, you've got they will see him clearest when the city burns. So in this poem, Ocean's kind of comparing this boy to the Trojan horse, and it can mean a variety of different things. It could mean that he's got a war inside him waiting to come out, waiting to throw his wrath upon the world. The people inside his stomach that Ocean describes, these warriors, might also be people that he's worried about, that he's scared that will kill him, because as we know from society, there are people that still aren't accepting of other people if they're a little bit different or seen as going against the norm. We can tell, you know, that there's definitely a foreboding of this boy's death because of the phrases like a flame caught in the mirror the width of a coffin. So, you know, he's wearing a red dress, but he's like a flame, he's burning, you know, he's burning. And we know fire can be beautiful, but it can also be very dangerous and it can also harm us. You know, a mirror the width of a coffin, it's almost like he's already foreseeing his own death, or he knows that there's reasons that he could die. You've got this use of red throughout the poem. A bit further down, you've got the use of how a boy in a dress, the red of shut eyes vanishes. So the fact that, you know, boys like him disappear all the time. So we've got that idea. But then it continues on to say, beneath the sound of his own galloping. So the fact that he's maybe outrun himself, or he's vanished, you know, he's vanished either from running away, could be due to running away from home, or galloping, you know, is also seen as something quite freeing. So he could, in putting the dress on, he could also be being very free. I like the fact how it says the red of shut eyes, because obviously when we close our eyes, you see that red and, you know, you don't see anything else. So it's all ties in very neatly. All this language ties in very, very neatly. You know, I love the ending of the poem as well. They will see him clearest when the city burns. It could refer to many different things. It could refer to the fact that, you know, people like him in society aren't really seen, or this boy's kind of been forgotten about. But he's seen at the end when he kind of can't contain himself anymore, or can't contain the societal strains that are put upon him, and just goes full hog and just destroys everything or burns the city down. It can be read in that way. It can also be read in a completely different way. What I like about Ocean's work is there's so much rich use of imagery in this, but it can also have multiple meanings. Like, we don't know if these warriors inside this boy are trying to destroy him. Are they part of him? Like, is this his like hidden, you know, stuff that's going on inside? We don't know, and it could mean all these things. The fact that, you know, he's having to wear this dress in front of the mirror on his own, I get a real sense of loneliness from this poem, and I get a sense of anger, and I get a sense of not being able to fit in, and I get a sense of that kind of longing for freedom, but also knowing what that freedom costs. And I think you could really sit and pick apart this poem for a lot longer than I have done. Like, the way that the lines break is really interesting, where he's decided to, like, you know, leave words hanging. Like, the shape of the poem is a very unusual shape. You know, it's prose poetry, free verse kind of style, but it's very structured in the fact of what he's chosen to leave in. I'll just show you the shape of the poem, like, on the page. So interesting. So this is kind of what it looks like moving down. Absolutely, I think it's really exciting. I'd be really interested to hear what you lot think about this poem, just because it's so complicated and there's so much rich imagery in it. Yeah, I sat picking it apart for ages, and I still don't think I've said half the things that I want to say about it. But let me know what you think. Always interested to hear your views, and I shall be back next week with a new poem. Thank you very much for tuning in. Remember to like and subscribe. And if you're feeling, you know, like you want to treat us, please get on the Patreon. But there is never any pressure. Have a good one.